All right, all right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be listening to this. This is your boy Sutton Def, your favorite fanalist from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. And tonight is the time that I'm recording this. I will be reacting to the HBO Hard Knocks AFC North Edition, Episode 7. This is PRP. Stay tuned. Okay, so HBO Hard Knocks, right? This is something that's been going on since late in the season here in the AFC North, and it started off a whole lot differently than it's going right now, right? It was one of those like they had us in the first half sort of things, but now it really seems like the Ravens seem to be the stars of the show. And Tomlin and the Steelers have taken a back seat, obviously taken a back seat after the um wild card loss that they suffered last week. So Hard Knocks is looking a lot different. It's looking a lot more favorable to Ravens fans, and I got some notes here that I want to get through and I want to talk to you guys about. Before I do that, of course, I am live right now, so I do want to give a shout out to whoever's watching live. My guy Killer Cam is in the house, giving a shout out to me, so I will give a shout out to him. What's going on, Killer Cam? Appreciate you for coming through. If you are watching this video, make sure you like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel as well. If you're on Twitter, maybe pop over there, maybe see. Check us out. MDT Sports in the house is what's up, Sutton. You know who's the referees. Who is it again? Ah, man. Who is it again? I can't remember who it is, but it's the same referee for this upcoming Buffalo game that refereed our game in LA against the Chargers a couple of months ago. So that same guy who threw like 9 flags on us for like over 100 yards and penalties. If that is what you're talking about, MDT. But again, appreciate you for coming through. Okay, so HBO Hard Knocks. Couple of notes. They started off the episode covering the Ravens as they have in the past couple of ones since the Ravens, kind of been picking up steam. But overall, the Ravens do seem locked in. I mean, that is just the term. I'm sorry. I know some of you guys are sick and tired of hearing that term, locked in, that phrase. It's just that's the only way that I can describe it. I mean, these guys are not resting on their laurels. They're not celebrating their wins too much, right? But at the same time, they're really like enjoying the moment. A lot of guys have really high vibes in that locker room, and I really do appreciate that right now at this point in the season. Of course, there's other teams that seem a little bit more defeated than others, like the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. You can tell there was a little bit of a how do you say step back in intensity in terms of like coming from Mike Tomlin and the players and the other coaches in that building as well. Like everybody seems a whole lot less intense, and this was going in what they had filmed for this episode of the show was going into before the wild card matchup. So it was kind of like it felt like they knew what fate they were about to suffer, almost I could say. It was really weird. It was really weird. But I did see something about the Browns that is not necessarily new information, but they just kind of re-highlighted the Miles Garrett interview where he was asked earlier in the season about what he wants to do in terms of his future in Cleveland, and he basically says in so many words like, "Hey, like I'm not looking to rebuild, right? I'm looking to play in meaningful football games," and I understand wholeheartedly what Miles Garrett is going through here. I mean, not obviously not as a football player, but like just as someone who if you're part of like a losing team or like a losing effort, you want to go to a team that is going to better suit your talents, and better utilize your talents. I think that that's very fair. I feel like a lot of people have probably felt like that at some point in their life, in terms of whatever situation they might have been in. So I totally feel Miles Garrett on that one, and I think that if the Browns in this offseason do not go out and make a big splash in the draft or make a big splash in free agency, which is going to be hard to do that for the draft because this is not a very flashy draft class, especially for the Browns are picking. I think I want to say they're top 5, but I'm not entirely sure. If you are in the chat, let me know, please, if you could. What pick do the Browns have this season? I do want to get through some of these other things on my list though. So the Bengals, they had a whole scene about the Bengals, and they They were cleaning out their lockers, stuffing stuff in trash bags and hugging each other goodbye for the season. It was really sad. It was really sad, to be honest with you. It felt like HBO kinda did him dirty almost, and I kinda felt bad for him, in a few ways. Joe Burrow did look really cool. He was wearing some Seinfeld pants, like some Seinfeld themed pants, you guys know, like the TV show. I thought those were pretty cool. I mean, he looked very stylish in them. Joe Burrow is Joe Cool for a reason. They call him Joe Cool for a reason. Killer Cam says pick number 3, he thinks for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a possibility you could get a name, right? But is it enough to make a Miles Garrett really want to stick around? I think you actually have to also get somebody in free agency as well. And I know they just reworked Deshaun Watson's contract. So I think they do intend on having him back, even though it's probably a little bit shaky on whether or not he starts the season because he did just, re-aggravate what was it, his Achilles or something like that in the leg, and he just had to get surgery all over again. And that sucks for him. But you know, Miles Garrett, I think that if nothing is really shaken in Cleveland, like nothing really, really like fire is going on, for lack of better words, he might force his way out. And dare I say, you know, there's a certain team in Baltimore who would love to have him. Just saying, just saying. You know, Steelers got one of ours with Patrick Queen. I know it's not on the same level, but since this is what we're doing now, hey, come on to Baltimore, Miles Garrett. Come see us. Let's see. What else do I have here? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, Tomlin's coaching philosophy is something else that I highlighted in this one. Like, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people are really down on Mike Tomlin right now. I am not. I'm still not down on him at all. Um, he said something in this episode. He said the new generation is very stimulated by visuals, and he wanted to show his guys the good that they've done in the film room to get a good reaction out of them, and he did. You know, he was harping on like normally we're just trying to push out information on guys and tell them what they're doing wrong and what they could be doing better. But like, how often do we sit them down and like put on the film and say, "Hey, look, this is what you've done right." So that can kind of like trigger something in their minds and empower them to be able to replicate that sort of performance. So I thought that was really cool from him. Otherwise, a lot of times he's like a real hard ass in the film room, and that's how he's supposed to be. He's a head coach, but just having that balance, man. I mean, the philosophies of Coach Tomlin, his coaching style, they're second to none in the league to me. And they haven't done hard knocks for a lot of these different coaches, but I've known over the years, just like being so close to Mike Tomlin. Of course, he's in the same division as our Ravens, but hearing him speak and watching him coach and watching him be relatively successful over the course of his career, you can't really say that the Steelers not performing well is really like all Tomlin. You know what I mean? Like you can't say that they're not performing well because of him. I don't want to say that because I believe just like Andy Reid when he left Philly, he could go somewhere else. Mike Tomlin, he can go somewhere else and really really thrive. So there's that. Again, a lot of people are down on Mike Tomlin. I am not. What else we have? A couple little things I caught in Steelers practice. They had one of their DBs wearing a penny, like a little small jersey that said 44 on the back of it. And I was just thinking, like, are they trying to imitate Marlon Humphrey in that one? Right? Because Marlon Humphrey, of course, the guy who got the pick on Russell Wilson, was Coach Tomlin trying to, I don't know. I just thought that was a cool little or funny little tidbit, to be honest with you. Um, Let me see. So yeah, and then they actually cut right back to the Ravens practicing, and it was in the freezing cold. They started the scene with John Harbaugh. He was jogging around the practice field with the players, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, it's gonna be really cold in Buffalo. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's cold in Baltimore, but like Buffalo, it's a little bit different. Like, it's a little bit further up north, a little bit colder, a little bit windier, and I even know just in the stadium is gonna be cold. Even down in the locker rooms is gonna be cold. Um, Killer Cam says that's what happened in scout teams with the 4 pennies on the yeah, I just thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Um, especially considering again, Marlon got that pick on Russell Wilson in their last matchup, the one before the wild card. But I was thinking about how cold it's gonna be in Buffalo, and John Harbaugh was talking to Chris Berman, who was actually at the Ravens practice, and he was telling him how how well Lamar Jackson is throwing in the cold and throwing in the wind. And he told Lamar Jackson that, hey, like maybe we should practice, without the wind, or maybe we should practice going the other way, like not going into the wind. And Lamar Jackson says, no, like I got to learn to throw in it. These guys got to learn to catching it. Like we're not going to be able to pick and choose during the game which way the wind's going, basically. And again, this mentality from Lamar Jackson, I love it. I can never really say too much about it. You know what I mean? It's just like the guy is a winner. He is a natural born winner. He's a competitor as well. And I really admire the things that, he's done for this franchise, of course, but just like his leadership ability is also another one of those that's second to none in the league. So um Harbaugh also did say that the team is actually in very good spirits right now, and practicing in the cold is something that they have no problem doing. You can tell that they want to be out there, and this is according to John Harbaugh again. So more great news coming out of camp. Moving on here. What else? What else? What else? What's going on? Taquan says late night Sutton talk. Let's go. What's up, bro? What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Let me see. Oh yeah, they showed a lot of Kyle Van Noy in this episode, which I thought was pretty cool. Kyle Van Noy. They reminded us that he's got 2 rings, right? Of course, with the in the Brady era of the Patriots, he was kind of stacking up rings over there, and I was just thinking to myself, like, how cool would it be to get Kyle Van Noy a 3rd ring? And a part of me thought we were gonna do it last year. We were really kind of like sensing the moment, and we ended up falling short. And hopefully the same doesn't happen this year, but it would be really cool, like I said again, to get Kyle Van Noy his 3rd ring. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Let me see. This another funny thing to me. Kyle Van Noy, he was on his, I think it was his Gerald McCoy podcast, Van Noy and McCoy, and he was telling them, he said Mark Andrews is an unsung hero. He called Mark Andrews an unsung hero on this team, and I thought that was pretty funny because I think that Mark Andrews is kind of like highly touted as like one of the best players on the Ravens, even in national media. It probably goes. He's probably in the top 5. When you're talking about like notable Ravens players, if you're a national media head, you've got your Lamar Jackson, your Derrick Henry. They probably say like a Zay Flowers, right? But then you got to go like Mark Andrews. You probably even put Mark Andrews before Zay. So I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily an unsung hero on the team, but I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, moving on here. Like I said, don't want to hold you guys too long tonight on this one. Let me see. So Zach Orr, man, I'll tell you this. I was wrong about Zach Orr about a month ago. I said here that he looked a little bit green, and he still does to me a little bit, just because he's so young. But just kind of like his energy and his fire. Like he was very fiery in this episode when he was talking to his guys. He was saying like, "Oh, everybody wants to play in the playoffs. Everybody wants to perform. Yada yada yada. Like show me." He said that to his guys in defense, and he just turned around. Turned away from him. You can tell, like just looking at the guys, like they were really like they really took that in. And this defense is playing with a ton of pride in this postseason. And honestly, in this last like month stretch, they've been playing with a ton of pride, month and a half, damn near. Especially coming from where they came from earlier in the season, kind of getting the shit kicked out of them, the shit kicked out of them in the media and from local Ravens fans and national media alike. Like people were criticizing the hell out of them, But they came back, they kept fighting, they made their adjustments, and I gotta tip my cap to Zach Orr, man. I can't say it enough. I mean, he turned things around. I mean, he kind of pulled the Mike McDonald when you think about it, and of course he hasn't finished the season off, and we're yet to see what he does in his second campaign with us if he doesn't start getting any head coaching calls, which could possibly come as well. But he's the guy's done well. The guy's done well, and he's made a lot of progress in the past month and a half. Like I said again, so hopefully in this postseason he can continue to keep up this performance and defense wins championships. That's all I'll say. And if he wins a championship with this defense coming from where we came from, I think we all owe him an apology. Honestly. Let me see. Lil said it says we here. What's going on, Lil? Appreciate you for coming through. KP is in the house as well. Says, hey, If the Bills sell out to stop the run, do you have confidence the pass game will be good enough without Zay in bad weather? Yeah, I was actually talking about this in another episode of the show that I uploaded earlier today. I think that if they sell out to stop the run, but see, here's the thing: you can only really sell out to stop one thing at a time, right? It's either going to be Lamar Jackson or it's going to be Derrick Henry, you know? And with the wrinkles, you can try to do both at a time, both at the same time. And sometimes that works. But with the wrinkles that the Ravens are adding to this run game and into the option game, it's really going to make it a lot harder on the Bills than we think to sell out and stop the run. Because I'm sure the Steelers really wanted to sell out and stop the run too. But what happened? We pulled it with Lamar Jackson a bunch of times early in that game to keep them as honest as possible. And then next thing you know, Derrick Henry's in the Wildcat. And you didn't prepare for that. And that's just a new evolution that you have to deal with on the fly. So I do think that the next evolution of this run game will show itself this week against the Bills. The Ravens are going to continue to pull out stops each and every week until they get through the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, you know, because that's what it's all about, saving your best tricks for the playoffs. So, like I said, selling out and stopping the run, they may try to do that, but do it, you know, in terms of answering your question, do I have confidence in the passing game? I do. I do think that Mark Andrews can take advantage of this, what, 16th ranked and 17th ranked, respectively, coverage safeties and linebackers. I think he can take advantage of that, you know, especially with those guys cheating their eyes towards the backfield, waiting for it to sell out on stopping Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running. So, yes, I do believe so. I also think that Rashad Bateman's been coming on very strong as well. So, I expect him to continue to take his strides too. So, yes. Lil says it says Todd Monken bringing out the Derrick Henry jump pass. I mean, that's something that's one of the stops that I don't expect them to pull out. I can't really see. It's like we would have to need a touchdown so bad. Like I don't know, because we have Lamar Jackson. That's my only thing about that play. Like that's my only reason why you don't have a play like that with the Lamar Jackson. I mean, this is not Ryan Tannehill where Derrick Henry is quite literally your best player on your roster. That's not the case here in Baltimore. We want to keep the ball in eight's hands. If it comes down to throwing it, keep it in eight's hands. That's kind of like my rule of thumb there. But moving along here from the Hard Knocks episode, taking a few things away from it. During halftime of the game, HBO got a really cool shot, and it's actually the thumbnail on this video. They got a really cool shot of Lamar Jackson kind of breaking down the huddle in the locker room. And Lamar Jackson, of course, is a man of very few words, didn't have too much to say. Just, you know, like it's 0-0. We got to keep our foot on the gas and we just getting started, basically. And he broke the huddle and that was that. But I think they got a really cool shot of him like standing in the center of the locker room. Let me see. Let me get through the rest of these here and then I'll take a couple questions from you guys. Let me see, we're tied. Oh, one interesting moment about Tomlin and Harbs. They came together before that wild card game, and Tomlin said to John Harbaugh, he said, "We're tied together for life." And John Harbaugh said, "I guess we are, huh?" And I just thought that was a pretty cool moment, very wholesome moment there. Um, Another moment that we saw in that game was Lamar get a little bit banged up. He was kind of favoring his back, and we saw that he got kneed in the back. Literally, he was on a scramble and he did one of those slides where he gives himself up, but he goes forward, right? So he exposed his back to the defender who was in pursuit. The defender kind of dove at him and rolled over him and avoided him for the most part, just enough to avoid the penalty, of course. But his knee did kind of roll over Lamar Jackson's back, and I know that shit had to hurt, to be honest with you. So hopefully Lamar Jackson got that massage he was talking about and he is okay. Because like I said, I know that shit hurt. Let me see. Minka Fitzpatrick, it was kind of later in the game. Minka just says, like, when the defense was getting tired and the Steelers knew they were getting tired, Minka said, literally, quote unquote, he said, "Hey, man, that boy heavy," talking about Derrick Henry. It's just like, it just goes to show how tired you truly get of tackling Derrick Henry. When you're done watching this video, I need you to go watch the top three matchups video that I just posted today and watch like the first like 10 seconds of that video and watch Taylor Hitt try to tackle Derrick Henry. And this was like early second quarter in the week 4 matchup. And Taylor Rapp was just struggling to get up off the ground because it's just that hard to tackle Derrick Henry. I mean, simple as that. So hopefully they can replicate that in this week's game. in Buffalo. Let me see. Oh yeah, the touchdown to Justice Hill, man. The touchdown to Justice Hill in this game. Nobody talks about how good Lamar Jackson is at twisting his head and keeping his head on a swivel to scan a collapsing pocket and all like just look all around him at the same time in like a split second so he can like easier manipulate the pocket and buy himself more time to make a play because like no other quarterback does that the way he does. Like sometimes you feel like he's almost breaking his neck. Like with how fast he turns his neck and like I'm sure he's not even like really getting a good look at anything, but like he's just kind of scanning really quick with his peripherals and just to see exactly who's behind him. Okay, how much time do I have until this defender who's behind me is gonna either get a strip sack or and we've seen him get strip sack before. So it's just I don't know, man. The evolutions of Lamar Jackson is are just crazy. Are just crazy. But yeah, yeah. Nobody talks about that. Because even Harbaugh wanted Lamar to throw that football away, but Lamar Jackson, being Lamar Jackson, he found a guy at the very last second after this thing back down, back and forth through the pocket, and just finding his man Justice Hill for the touchdown. Just amazing stuff, and that's the X factor you need out of your quarterback in order to get to a Super Bowl. You know, on top of the game managing capabilities that I talked about last week, we did from Lamar Jackson later in that game it's just a deadly combination. You can't really stop that. The Ravens can only stop themselves at this point. I truly do believe that. Okay. At the end of the game, it was a funny little moment between Cam Hayward and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes up to Cam Hayward and he's like, "Hey man, I need that jersey, or I need one of your jerseys or whatever." And Cam Hayward's basically just kind of like looking at him like, all right, bro. Yeah, I'll see you later. Sort of thing. It's like he was not trying to come up off that jersey. You know, like most guys would be like, oh yeah, last game of the season, I got you, bro. Maybe it was too cool. I don't know. Last game of the season, though, take the jersey off, Lamar Jackson. You deserve it. You're a one of one generational player. Um, yeah, I don't know if I'm Cam Hayward, I'm doing that, but this is real AFC North hate, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna send him one in the mail. Who knows? Who knows? Let me see what you guys are saying here. Since I've gotten through all my points, I'll see what you guys are saying here in the chat. KP says, my main concern is that the Bills try to pull what the Steelers did and receive the ball first and score early to throw the Ravens off their game plan, which they unfortunately do sometimes. Yes, that would be an ideal game plan, I would say, if you're the Buffalo Bills, especially being at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. You want to get the crowd kind of hyped early, right? Because you can only imagine the Bills receiving the ball first, going down and scoring, just how loud and raucous that crowd is going to be, and how they're going to be screaming at our offense up 7-0, when they're trying to go down and score their first drive. So, and imagine they stop Derrick Henry on a first down or even like a second down or something like that. They're going to be going insane, like absolute batshit crazy. So, you want to, you know, not really capitulate the momentum early. And, that's a risk for the Bills. It's a risk for the Bills if they were to get on the field first and not score, after winning the toss. If they choose not to defer and they choose to go up there and they don't score on us, then all of a sudden we can get the ball now. Your crowd is gonna be slightly less into it as before. I mean, I'm sure they're still gonna be loud, but not scoring on that first drive will be deflating. And then you go down and you score it, and oh yeah, by the way, you just burned 4 or 5 minutes of clock because you ran the ball 6, 7 times. Hey, man, that would not be a bad scenario for the Ravens, so it can go either which way. I think that the Bills will probably be a little bit more conservative, if I'm being honest with you. I think that they'll respect the Ravens in that way, and if they do win the toss, they will defer to us so they can get the second half kick. I do think that that's what they're gonna do. Um, let's see here. He says, "But I will say I was way more nervous about the Steelers game than I am about the Bills game, not gonna lie." I mean, yeah, I honestly feel similar. Only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is, the fact that it's in Buffalo. And I know that momentum and energy is paramount in these games, and Buffalo's gonna bring the energy for sure, especially against Lamar Jackson. It's gonna be Sunday night football. Ravens coming to town. Ravens beat up on them real bad earlier this year. They're gonna want to get their get back. They think that their guy's MVP. We think our guy's MVP. There's a lot of storylines, animosity, right? Unspoken and spoken animosity between these two fan bases. So I think that there's going to be a little bit of extra crazy in the Bills this weekend, in the Bills fans. Taquan says, I think this game will be a big game for the secondary, especially Brandon Stevens. I don't see Buffalo running all over us, to be honest. I don't see, James Cook running all over us either, or Ty Johnson for that matter, or Josh Allen, really. I mean, Josh Allen, he'll probably get his, but those other two guys, I don't really see that happening too much. As long as we can keep Josh Allen in the pocket. Taquan, you mentioned Brandon Stevens. I think that, you know, whoever is matched up on Brandon Stevens, whether it is, Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir or whoever's on the outside for them, they're most likely going to have plays where they tell Josh Allen, hey, look, you know, find 21 on the field. If it's single high safety up above, go at him. You know, just go at him, right? If there's no safety help there that's designated for his side of the field, throw it up. They did it last time out. It worked a couple times, so why not try it again, especially if we need one. So Brandon Stevens is gonna have to step up again, play with a lot of pride in this one. Get your head around, right? You're blanketing guys, but get your head around and just make a play on the football. It's not that he never makes a play, but it seems like conveniently every time that we expect a play to be made on him or somebody, it goes to him, right? And it's just I don't know. It's irritating. It's irritating. But yeah, like you said, I don't really see Buffalo running all over us either. But Ravens got to show up to play, man. They got to show up to play. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Again, wanted to react to the HBO Hard Knocks episode 7 and just answer a couple of you guys' questions who joined the live chat. Again, my name is Sutton Def. You can follow me on Twitter at Sutton Def, on Instagram at Sutton Def as well. And subscribe to our Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel if you are watching on X right now. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for joining the Rain Gang. We appreciate you for coming through. With that being said, I'm let you guys go. You guys already know the drill. Stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest days, to call God. This is your boy Sutton Def. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.